Hey everyone, bonjour, hello, hello. Today I want to talk about a blog post I'm working on because the topic is fascinating. So I want to talk about invisible loyalties. Invisible loyalties, it's so fascinating. So the term was coined by this family therapist, founder of family therapy called Naj something. Naj, I will put the name in the show notes. So his book is called Invisible Loyalties. And so these are loyalties that we have to generations that came before us, to parents, to grandparents, to our ancestors, right? So because when we are children, when we are small children, our parents, they take care of us, they feed us, they protect us from harm, they love us, they make sure we are okay. And in return, we cannot pay them in return because we are still small. So what happens is that unconsciously we have really strong ties, loyal ties to our parents. That's how we pay them back because they took care of us, because our ancestors allowed us to be here today. We pay them back with our loyalty. So these invisible ties are very strong, and it's because of these ties that family members help each other, siblings help each other. They have traditions that people follow, there are family values that people have together, and they band together, right? Well, the problem happens. So it all sounds really great, but the problem is that in the case where a child was not loved, was neglected, was abused in cases of war, trauma, and everything, these invisible loyalties still stay. The child will still tend to want to be loyal to the group, to the family, to the detriment of themselves. This is something I really have to explain. So it just means that even if you receive the care or not, you will tend to be loyal to your parents, to your family, to your group, you know. But in the case when there's abuse, so this you have to distort yourself to be loyal. Even cases when there's no abuse. Imagine you're raised in a family where you're loved and everything is okay. But the parents, they have this path for you they want you to take in life, and deep down inside that that's not you. They want you to become a lawyer, and what you want to do is to write, to be a screenwriter, let's say. And then, but you feel that because they did so much for you, you will follow what they want for you, right? This is an example of what invisible loyalties are. And most of the time, we go along with what our parents, our ancestors want for us. Why? Actually, as a human being, there's a basic need that we all have, the need to belong. So we all need to belong. It's so scary to be out by yourself. It's as a child, it's not even possible for a child to imagine their survival away from their caregivers. So that's why when a child is abused, they never think their caregiver is bad. They think that they are bad. That's why the abuse came to them, because for their survival, they have to believe that the caregiver wants their good, wants them to survive. That's just how child psychology is. That's why people blame themselves for bad things that happened to them when they were growing up, because for their survival, their brain couldn't accept that actually this parent is not good to me. They don't want me to survive. It's not possible. So it doesn't mean that we don't, when we grow up in this context, we still want to be loyal to our families, because it's necessary even for an abused child to feel they belong somewhere. That's where I was going. If an abused child still needs to feel they belong to a family. They claim a family that actually is not a family, because the family doesn't love them or protect them or take care of their needs. But they claim, and these people, most of the time, they claim their families more than other people. Every two sentences, they talk about their family. And then when you look at it, they actually never really had a family, but but they need that. They need it to be like that. If not, it means they're by themselves, and it's not possible. It's too scary. It's too scary to feel as if you don't belong to anything. So in my experience, why did I start writing about this? Because it's so hard to realize what is, or accept what is the reality of things. I recently found an essay I wrote when I was 10 years old, and I was going to school in Cameroon, in Yaoundé, in the capital. I was in a primary school, an English speaking primary school in the francophone region of Cameroon. In Cameroon, you speak English and French. So in my very overcrowded school, because it was English speaking, so all the Anglophone kids and many other kids came to that school. So we had two shifts. So some one week I would go to school in the morning, and the next week I would go in the afternoon, just alternating like that. So in that school, I wrote this essay where I don't have it. I tried to look for it this morning. I couldn't find it. But in it, I say my name is Miriam. I don't know if I say my age. I say I look like a girl. I find that very funny. And then I go on to say that I want to I want to work hard to honor my parents, and then I want to bring electricity to my village. I want to bring water to my village and things and stuff like that. And then what struck me when I would read this essay was that I spoke about parents at the time. I was not living with my parents. I did not have parents I was living with my uncle, who was he was really physically very abusive, and like I was totally parentified, cooking, cleaning, washing his clothes, walking to school 4 kilometers, walking back 4 kilometers. And I had to sit there in silence, or unless he spoke to me, then I could reply. He couldn't read and write, so I had to do my own homework, because if I failed school, he would beat me. He would beat me randomly for many things. So I always sat there very tense, very scared, not knowing when the next beating would come or for what. So, yeah. So that was it. So I spent 2 years living with this uncle. Why I'm saying this is that, fast forward, if we think about these invisible loyalties, many years later, when I was not even living with him, he was in Cameroon and I was living in Switzerland. He wanted me to study medicine. And I can tell you, when I was in high school, I was right on my way to go study medicine, because my uncle wanted me to study medicine. Um, and then when I was in Switzerland, I sent a letter to my dad, and that I didn't know, and he replied, and then we started calling each other. In the letter I sent him, I sent him pictures of me when I visited the United States and things like that. So my uncle told me that he had my pictures in his breast pocket, and he would show anyone in the village who cared that I was his daughter. I was very smart, and I would go to university, and he was so proud of me. And I can tell you, I wanted to make my father proud. I wanted to make my uncle proud. I wanted to make my village proud, especially that my father is a prince in my village. And I also heard growing up that, oh, you're a princess, Miriam, you're a princess. And I wanted to believe I was a princess. I wanted to be a princess, even though my life was that of Cinderella. I wanted to feel I was the princess. Anyways, when I became a teenager, it was really hard to reconcile all these identities, all these contradictions. And that's what happens when you're abused, and then you have these invisible loyalties. So there's what you want to project. You want to be a good person. You want to respect your family. You want to do what they want from you. They want what they're asking of you. But deep inside, you're conflicted. You're angry. Yeah, okay, you say I'm a princess, but in my head, I say, okay, why was I raised like an orphan, like Cinderella? My uncle wants me to become a doctor. Why didn't he treat me better, and things like that, right? But you don't say it because you don't want to disrespect the adults in your life. Let's say it like that. But this this conflict, it leads to sabotage. It leads to you sabotaging yourself because you go out in the world and you do things that you're not interested in just to prove a point, just to make other people happy. So I went to high school. I studied biology and chemistry with the aim of going to university to study medicine, like my abusive uncle uh, dreamt of. But you have to see that he's the only father figure I had. Even though I lived with him only for 2 years, he was the only father figure I had in my early childhood. So you can see it as a Stockholm syndrome. He's the fact that he wanted me to go um, and study medicine mattered more than anything. When you see, like today, when I see how he treated me and then how I was trying to please him still, because that's the thing. Unconsciously, I wanted to study medicine so that my uncle would at last love me and accept me. That love and acceptance and beatings I had then, I thought that by doing something he really valued, it will repair all what I didn't get. I will at last get the love I never had. I will at last get the recognition. I will become someone valuable in their eyes, right? But that's so, so wrong because you put your energy into something that doesn't interest you. I don't like hospitals. I don't like how hospitals smell. And I wanted to go be a doctor. But luckily, in third year of high school, it was not a conscious thing. I just got fed up. I sat next to two girls who were trying to go to, who were studying for an entrance exam into translation school to study languages. And somehow I'm like, nah, I don't want to study medicine anymore. I switched and then I didn't switch. I was doing good in all my subjects in high school. So I just focused more on preparing the entrance exam to go to, to do translation studies at university. And yeah, at least I think I understood at one point that my uncle didn't have a hold on me anymore. He couldn't decide my life. Like what he said far away there in Cameroon didn't matter. If I don't want to do it, he cannot do anything to me. But now, what I want to say for people who listen to this podcast is that these invisible loyalties, they make us live a life that is not for us. We live with guilt and shame, so the idea would be to break away from them. It's so, so hard. But as adults, we owe it to ourselves first to say, okay, thank you, parents. Thank you, ancestors, for what you did for me. You did the best you could, even though it was not enough. You did the best you could. But as from now on, I want to live my own life. And this is what I choose to do with my life. That's why I'm doing this podcast and I'm writing and I'm blogging, because actually at the core of me, that's what I always loved: reading books, writing, bouncing ideas around in my head, connecting them and things like that. That's what I love. It gives me life to do this, to write, to speak. That's what I love. But I can tell you, for years, for even decades, I didn't do that, because I was trying to fit in. I was trying to fit into what society expected of me, my family expected of me, what would make people proud of me. So, but then I was not happy and I was not giving it my all or even dedicated to things. I procrastinated and I still procrastinate. Because that's not what I wanted to do with my life. But all of this is unconscious. We don't know why we feel so conflicted. We want this job, we get it, and then we get there and we say, oh my God, what am I doing here? And then we just feel we don't know what to do with our lives. That's self-sabotage. It's because maybe something at the core is not right. And we need to free ourselves from these loyalties, because if we take these loyalties at a macro level, they cause a lot of problems. Because in some families, when we are born, there are some, like, a family could be that they hate this other family, and then we're born into that, and then we just inherit that hatred, and then we're just hating that other family because that's what we do in our family. This is destructive. And or we hate that group, or we hate those people, I don't know, who have 4 years, you know, but then you don't even know them, you don't even examine, but why do we hate them again? There's no, that's how it is, that's how it's always been. So it's that questioning, that bringing those invisible loyalties to light, and then we can break the cycle, and then we stop the self-sabotage on us, and we give ourselves a real chance to create a life that is fulfilling. And something with these loyalties is that sometimes unconsciously we don't dare be happy, because maybe we come from poverty. Imagine, I don't know, you grow up in poverty, and then you manage to get yourself out of poverty, and then you go to university, and then you have a good job. And you know what, in how invisible loyalties can play in your life. You can think, like unconsciously, oh, my parents, my siblings, my cousins, they're still not out of poverty, and then you restrict yourself. Maybe you do well in your job, and then have relationships where you're not close to the person, just that you don't have it all. It's like a way of holding yourself back, holding yourself back because you're trying to be loyal to your other family members. And this is unconscious. The thing is, we have to realize it, because holding yourself back will not necessarily translate into them getting a better situation. It's just that you both lose. Maybe they are not in a better situation, but you don't live your life fully, because you have these invisible loyalties holding you to them, right? It's like, I don't know, a daughter who would say, my mom is my best friend, but while you're busy being your mom's best friend, you cannot be the daughter that you need to be to grow in that relationship with your mom. It means that you're taking care of your mother's needs, and then you're not being a daughter. And that's detrimental to your own growth and your own development as a young woman, an adult woman, or a child, right? And but for that, you have to at one point realize that, no, I have to take my seat as a daughter and stop feeding my mother's needs to have a friend, and actually encourage her or tell her to get a friend, a real friend. And sometimes, I don't know, if we come from a country where our ancestors were killed, or for us black people, where we went through colonization, or like African Americans with slavery and stuff. Sometimes we hold ourselves back because our ancestors suffered so much, and then we don't dare go out there and fully express ourselves, because there will be like the perpetrator. For example, you could be living in the ghetto, and then you decide, oh, I want to be this, and you want to be that. People in the ghetto might feel threatened by the fact that you want to break out, and yeah. And so, but you not breaking out will not make things better. It will not automatically translate into people around you having a better situation. So it's important to understand these ties, because the invisible ties that are toxic are the ones that make you feel small and restrict your growth. So those ties, you have to kind of cut them off, or realize them, and release them, so that you can actually grow. Because the reality of it is that our ancestors, our forefathers, they want us to thrive. They want us to be the best version of them. We always hear this saying on social media, I'm the best version of my ancestors. That's what they want for us. That's really what they want for us. So when we know better, we do better. So if you look in your life, you see that there are these ties. Sometimes they're really, really insidious and unconscious. But if you realize that you have these ties, try to break them off, because sometimes when we didn't get what we needed, we were neglected, we were not loved, we were not protected. It's easier to, like, it's not easier, but unconsciously we can become an angry person like our father, because somehow it brings us closer to our father, and maybe he will give us that recognition we never had. Or we can be depressed like our mother, because somehow it brings us closer to our mother, and then maybe she will see us because she didn't have time to see you in childhood and things like that. But these are things that we hold you back, or we hold ourselves back, um, We go in the world and think, oh yeah, okay, I have a good job. At least I have a good job. We have this lack mentality where, okay, I have a good job. Um, then it's okay if my relationships don't work out. Instead of like saying, okay, I'm scared of relationships. What could be going on here? And maybe seeing that we are scared of intimacy and things like that, and working on that, and then so that we can have thriving relationships in our lives. But when we have these invisible ties where maybe we come from something where relationships were not always good, we could want to, you know somehow in a distorted way, hold ourselves back because we are loyal to this. We are loyal to we can be loyal to good things, to good traditions, to things that align with us, that don't make us feel as if. But when we discover that there are these invisible ties, it's a good thing to think about it. Think about the invisible ties in your life, and then see which ones you can try to break. Yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about today. I hope it will help you. You can share with me what you thought about this episode. I just find it fascinating, this concept, and it explains a lot. It explains a lot for me and for things that I see. And it's not an easy path, of course. It's not the easiest path to, for example, for me to come and accept that, okay, um, that family I so thought I had, where I never really had a family. My father was not there. So even if he's proud of me, it's because that's for his own reasons, because he could maybe tell the villagers that his daughter is abroad and then he looks good. My uncle wanting me to become a doctor, well, that was not for me. That was his own dream. That was not my dream, because he never knew me. I had to sit there silent. So it's not as if I told him I love science or anything. um, you know. But it's not easy to come and see things for what they are. It's a process. It's a long process. It took me a long time to see that, okay, this is what happened to me. This is what my family constellation was. But the beauty in accepting that is that then I don't blame myself for what happened to me. Okay, I'm saying it, but there are still things. But for the most part, I don't blame myself for the abuse I received. And it gives me also the opportunity and the freedom to create something new for myself, something that looks more like me, to create a new me that is aligned with my values, aligned, like choosing who I want to become, getting to know myself, like what do I like, who am I, what is important to me, what kind of relationship do I want to build, what kind of mother do I want to be, what kind of spouse do I want to be, how do I want to live my life. That's the freedom that it brings me. Then I don't have to report to these to ties that are toxic, or dysfunctional, or make myself small, because if I'm myself, this person will feel hurt. Or if I say this, it will hurt this other person. If I say this, we don't do that in our family. No, I break free from that, and I take my life into my own hands, and that's what I wish for you. So voila, that's the episode today. Until next time, take good care of yourselves. Bye.